Okay, buddy, where were we? When we ended last night, you and Triscuit had had a magical night of talking and reminiscing and bonding after you had sprained your paw doing the leap of dangerousness. Yeah. Oh, does it still hurt from the leap? Well, now it was morning time, so Triscuit gently woke Rosalita and asked her for help getting you into the bedroom. No fiesta could officially be considered over until the morning ritual of walking on my face was completed. Once that was done, and I had been gently encouraged to get breakfast started, Triscuit got you nice and comfy on the bed while Rosalita propped your injured paw on a rolled-up sock. Even though your paw was still throbbing, you felt so loved and wanted watching your sisters take care of you. It made you so happy to see how Rosalita would take her cues from Triscuit, tilting her head up to her big sister after each adjustment of your paw on the sock and beaming with pride as Triscuit would give her a smiling nod. Okay, Shadow, Rosalita and I are going to go into the kitchen and pace back and forth between Dad's feet as he prepares breakfast so that he knows how important what he's doing is. Don't put any weight on that paw. We'll bring your breakfast into you. You listened to them scamper off to the kitchen, and you turned your head to the open bedroom windows to listen to your neighbors in the building across the street as they started their day. There was Owen down on the 10th floor doing his morning exercises. 7 push-ups and 3 sit-ups. The same workout he's done every day since he moved in 3 years ago. And directly across, there was Vicky and Stefan making coffee. Vicky's a doctor for children, and Stefan is working on an app that allows cat parents to trade the toys that their cats won't play with. Up on the 15th floor, you heard the farter wake up. He'd only moved in a few weeks ago, and you hadn't caught his name yet, but you definitely caught his scent. You didn't know what that guy ate, but it definitely didn't agree with him. You heard Jeremy and Kaylin, the newlyweds on the 8th floor, start their day in the usual way, and it always made you laugh. It made Triscuit laugh too when you told her about it. But she said that you couldn't tell Rosalita about it for another year. Yeah, she's too young. Well, Bubba, you were having such a nice morning. You felt so comfy and loved, and you felt so safe with all the familiar sounds, the neighbors, the traffic, me scraping the burnt parts off my toast, and all the familiar smells. Burnt toast, coffee, freshly prepared cat food, and yes, the farter up on 15. It was interesting to you that even though something maybe wasn't exactly the best thing, if it was familiar enough, it could be really comforting. Yeah. You like the story? You love to do new and exciting things, definitely. I mean, your friends at the shelter who rescued you from the streets, well, they didn't call you Daredevil for no reason. But as you've grown, you've come to appreciate the beauty that can be found in silence. And you've come to really enjoy the peaceful feeling of just listening. You've always been absolutely astoundingly good at hearing. But your listening skills have matured so much since Rosalita joined the family. You used to try really hard to hear a specific thing. You'd be like, "Hey, I just heard Cooper 3 floors above come home after work," which, let's be honest, wasn't that hard to do because he always slammed his door so hard. But then you'd be like, "Now I'm going to try to hear him put the ice in the first of his nightly whiskeys." And you know what, buddy? That's cool that you could do that, and there's nothing wrong with doing that. But now, as you've gotten bigger and are now a big brother to baby Rosalita, you find yourself just kicking back and listening for whatever might be coming. Because with a baby, you never know what's coming. I mean, just a week ago, you ran into the bedroom because you heard Rosa whimpering, and you found her wedged between the mattress and the bed frame at the foot of the bed. Shadow, you never would have been able to hear that if you'd been focused on hearing something specific. And I just want to say that I think that is very cool. And it was that new listening skill that alerted you to a sound you had never heard before. It sounded like Rosalita, but she had always bounded up to see you and jumped on your back. This time, it sounded like she was pacing under the bed and whispering to herself in a really nervous way. There was something about it that made you sad. Rosalita, is that you? It got silent under the bed. In the distance, a dog barked. On 15, the farter farted. Rosalita, I know you're down there. What's the matter, baby? Come up here and talk to me. You heard her shuffle slowly out from under the bed and up the little stairs. This was really getting weird. Rosalita never shuffled. Hi, Shadow. Breakfast is almost ready. Rosa, you were not just pacing and shuffling because breakfast is almost ready, you said. What is going on with you? You heard the very unfamiliar sounds of your baby sister fighting back tears. Rosalita, whatever it is, you can tell me. I'm sure it's not a big deal. Oh, Shadow, she said, unleashing a torrent of tears. I just overheard something that I don't think I was supposed to hear, and it has really upset me. You reached out your paw and pulled Rosalita over to you, and you gave her a big hug. Hey there. Take it easy, Chiquita Torguita. Take deep breaths. You only used that nickname for Rosalita when you wanted to make her laugh, because it means like little tiny girl tortoise. And she thought that was hilarious. But it didn't work this time, which made you think that she really must have heard something awful. Okay, you said, just take some deep breaths, and when you're ready, you can tell me what you heard. Did you hear someone say something outside? You heard her shake her head no. Did you hear something in another apartment? Should I call for Dad and Triscuit to come in here? Rosalita's head whipped up. No, Shadow, you can't call them in here. I didn't hear it outside, and I didn't hear it in another apartment. I heard it in the kitchen, our kitchen. I heard Triscuit say something to Dad, and it made me so sad. And I don't want to tell you what it was because I know that it will make you sad too. But if Dad tries to do what Triscuit asked him to do, I know that it will really hurt your feelings. So I guess I don't know what to do. You gave her shoulder a big squeeze. You said, wow, Rosalita, that must be a terrible weight for someone so small to have to carry. I'm so sorry you're going through this. Look, whatever it was, I'm sure it's no big deal. Why don't you tell me what you heard? Rosalita seemed relieved to be able to tell you, but her voice was really shaky. Well, they were in the kitchen and I was getting my trackball practice in, and it was kind of hard to hear over the sounds of the ball rolling around and the sounds of Dad scraping his toast, but I heard Triscuit telling Dad that you had hurt yourself after misjudging the distance of the leap of dangerousness. And this is the part that made me so sad, because she has always said that she never cared that you and I can't see. You waited patiently for her to gather the courage to tell you what she heard next, but, oh, buddy, you had to admit, you were feeling a very unpleasant sense of dread in your tummy. Well, she continued, the next thing she said was that she thought that Dad should get you some eyes. Oh, Shadow, and she really began to cry. Shadow, you know that I don't care that you don't have eyes. You've always been my hero because you don't have eyes. I mean, I can't see much, but it's still more than you can see. And yet, somehow, you're able to do everything that any other cat in the whole world can do. Why would Triscuit think that Dad should get you some eyes? And she cried and cried into the soft fur of your neck. You hugged her and murmured sweet things into her ear, but, oh, Bubba, your heart felt dizzy and confused. On the one hand, You needed to comfort your baby sister. But on the other hand, you yourself wanted to cry. Yeah, buddy, you were so sad. How could Triscuit have said all the nice things she had said the night before if at the same time she was thinking that you were somehow less than you needed to be? It just didn't make sense. Rosalita was right. This did make you sad. But it also made you mad. It made you mad and determined to show your big sister and me that you could do anything that any other cat could do and more. And later, when you had time to reflect upon it, you couldn't exactly say where the idea came from. But you will forever be certain that you felt the idea enter your body because you felt a cold chill zing up your spine and pop into your head. The idea was so bold and so perfect and also so awful. Bold and perfect because it would prove forever that you didn't need eyes. Awful because it was so dangerous. And it was so dangerous that it was deadly. You were going to march right into the east wing of the apartment and perform the leap of dangerousness from the top of the cat tree. The rickety, unstable cat tree that Triscuit forbid you from jumping from last night during Spring Fiesta, because doing so would require that you jump over such a precipitous drop, opening up the risk of falling short and landing on all of my clutter on the couch. But you decided that if that's what it would take for Triscuit to finally accept that you are a whole cat, even without eyes, then the risk was worth it. Rosalita, you said, with surprising resolve, considering that you did feel a tremendous amount of fear and sadness. I want you to stay in here. There's something I have to do. Oh no, Shadow, don't do it. Please don't go in there and slice Triscuit up into little pieces with your claws and then put the pieces into 4 different trash bags and then row her out into the middle of San Francisco Bay and dump her overboard to hide your hideous crime. You said, no, I'm gonna, wait, Rosalita, and you leaned in to smell her breath to see if she was like crazy on the catnip. Okay, Rosalita, I'm gonna go show them that I don't need eyes, but you and I are going to have a talk about that other scenario when I get back. And you are not allowed to watch Dateline anymore. And with that, you kissed her on the forehead and began to painfully limp off the bed. Shadow, please stay here. I don't want to cause any trouble. I shouldn't have said anything. And also, your paw is sprained. But buddy, you know how in moments of extreme danger or excitement, cats can perform tremendous feats of strength? Like the time that mama stray cat in Boston lifted a 12-foot 2x4 off of her kittens after it rolled onto them at that construction site? Well, this was just like that. And with each step you took toward the living room, your adrenaline was pumping so hard and blocking all of the pain in your paw and giving you a feeling of almost limitless strength. You were going to do that jump. Without even acknowledging them, you walked past the kitchen as Triscuit and I were putting the finishing touches on breakfast. You heard Triscuit turn and say, Shadow, what are you doing out of bed? Can't you see that you're going to make your sprained paw so much worse? Well, you just kept right on walking, marching really. And without turning your head, you said, oh, I can see just fine, thank you very much, Triscuit. And now, there's something I want you to see, if your ordinary little eyes are capable of perceiving something of this hugeness. And you began to scale the rickety cat tree. You could tell that both Triscuit and I were quite perplexed as we stopped our breakfast preparations to watch you. Shadow, I said, not really understanding what was going on. I'd really prefer that you not climb so high when you have a sore paw, buddy. Come down and eat your breakfast. I made your favorite dish, plain steamed chicken. For a fraction of a second, the very sound of those beautiful words that describe a dish so simple yet so bewitchingly delicious, almost made you forget your mission and climb down. But with a quick shake of your head, you said, "I will eat my breakfast once I've finished this." And with a flourish that you learned when we watched that movie about the magician, you grandly swept your left paw across the vast expanse between you and the far side of the Cloud City wall furniture as you yelled, "The most extreme leap of dangerousness known to cat kind." The effect of your showmanship was exactly what you were hoping for. You heard the clatter as I dropped my egg pan and froze in horror. You heard Triscuit gasp and start to whimper. From the bedroom, you heard Rosalita scamper down from the bed and race into the living room, skidding to a stop on the carpet in shock, making you wonder if she had caused rug burns on her beans, and hoping really hard that she hadn't. "Shadow," you heard me say from the kitchen. "Be cool, buddy. Do not do that jump. That is so dangerous, and you already hurt your paw. Why in the world would you try something so foolhardy?" You tried to answer with power and anger, but really you just felt terrible sadness that you would have to do this in order to prove to Triscuit that you don't need eyes. "Because," you replied, "if I can make this jump, then you guys will never again have to worry about me not having eyes." You took a deep breath, you lowered your head, and in keeping with tradition, a tradition that went back thousands of years and a tradition whose meanings and origins have been lost in the generations since, you began to wiggle your butt. "Shadow," cried Triscuit, "we already know you don't need eyes. What are you talking about? Didn't I just tell you last night that I don't even notice anymore that you don't have eyes?" At that, you put your butt on pause, straightened up, and turned to Triscuit. "You sure did. So then why," and turning one ear toward Rosalita, who you heard stiffen, you continued, "So then why did I, repeat I, with my super hearing, hear from the bedroom as you told Dad that I need eyes?" Of course, it's never a good thing to lie, buddy, but you told that little lie in order to protect your little sister. You would have heard Rosalita sigh with relief at you covering for her, except that the sound was overruled by the very loud snort that Triscuit let out. Now, you expected a few different responses at her being called out like that. I mean, she was so busted. You expected a gasp or a sigh or maybe even a shriek. You did not expect a snort. You were quite confused. "Shadow, you adorable goofball. I think we need to get your super hearing super checked out. I didn't say that you needed eyes. I told Dad that you had sprained your paw and that you needed ice." Well, now you heard the shriek, but it came from Rosalita. Your head was spinning with this information, and you were about to lay down to keep from falling off the cat tree. But just then, two big and incredibly muscular hands scooped you up and pulled you in close to your dad's incredibly muscular chest. I carried you over to the couch and cradled you in my arms, and I rocked you gently as you started to cry a little bit. You weren't sad exactly. You were lots of things. Relieved, happy, embarrassed, and very scared that you had almost done such a dangerous feat. Triscuit and Rosalita ran over and jumped up onto my lap, and the four of us snuggled and laughed and cried while we reassured you that you are perfectly, perfectly perfect, just as you are. From the midst of our snuggle scrum, Rosalita's little voice cried out, "I can't let Shadow take the blame for this. I was the one who misheard the conversation." But honestly, no one cared one little bit. Triscuit giggled and said, "Don't worry, Rosa. It can take time for super hearing to develop." We were all just so happy that you were safe, and we were so happy that you understood just how incredibly loved and wanted you are, just as you are. And in the distance, as the screen slowly faded to black, the guy on 15 farted, and we laughed and laughed. Yeah, we laughed and laughed. Did you like that story, Bubba? You were so brave. Yeah, you would have done the jump too, wouldn't you? You'd have stuck the landing, but you don't need to. Yeah. Everyone loves you just as you are. I love you just as you are. You don't need to prove anything. I love you, Bubba.